This is a special year for the Fifth Third Bank Cincinnati Home and Garden Show presented by Toyota. We've worked, and not me, but the thousands of contractors that have been here setting up these gardens have worked for 5 days on site to install what I think are the most beautiful gardens we've had to date. The amount of material that we have design awards this year for the first time in years. So the amount of material that came in and the effort in the design to get to where we are now, I would say was the starting point. The ending point is the finishing touches. There's lots of beautiful decorating touches, lots of color. I think they're beautiful. Well, there's two sections really, the Cincinnati Interior Design and Furnishing section, or show if you will. There's over 100 exhibits just of furnishings and beautiful interior design. There's also a home and kitchen and bath area. Lots of kitchen and bath ideas. If you're just interested in the latest new products, you'll see a lot of that here. And of course, if you have a project you need done, the contractors are here. But if you need answers on your project, even if you're do it yourself, these are the experts. They can sure help you. We expanded the west end of the hall, and the show is almost 250,000 square feet now. It's easier access, it's easier to view, and of course there's a lot more exhibits than in the past. We are one of the few, if not the only home and garden show in the country that has almost 2/3 of our exhibit space filled with show gardens and garden and patio and summer living exhibits. No other home shows in the country do that I'm aware of. The garden market's very unique. Again, it's part of our garden component of the show. If you're a shopper and are looking for some beautiful garden things at this time of the year, who isn't? They're here. The garden market is hosted by the Junior League. They're involved. They've helped us set it up and find the right vendors. So I think that's a beautiful part of the show. When you enter this show, you'll enter through the furniture and interior design area. So you go one way or the other, all you're going to see are a sea of beautiful booths, furnishings, lighting, window coverings. The way you walk this show is all the home and products and services are in one area. The show gardens are set in the middle, and then there's another whole component of the show where the garden market and all the additional garden vendors are. So you can actually split up your day in sections by what you want to see first. Anywhere in the Midwest, you can go to a home show in your market. Certainly I'd urge you to do that, and then come here and compare. Most shows don't go to the depth that the vendors do here in order to have a beautiful exhibit. And we have a wider variety of things. We have the shopping available and the show gardens. And you know, we're downtown. Downtown Cincinnati is a beautiful place. You can come to the show for several hours. You can spend the night downtown. There's hotels surrounding the convention center, of course. Great restaurants. So we have, I think, a better package, a more complete package for a day of entertainment than most shows do. Absolutely destination. Downtown Cincinnati has a lot of beautiful things to do, great restaurants, and you can take it all in, all within 3 blocks of the convention center.
Yeah, I do this several times a year in different parts of the country, and it's important for me because it's the only way for me to kind of know what's going on and what's on people's minds and things like that. So, you know, it's like today, most of what we'll be doing when I'm on is kind of a big question and answer, because that's where the best conversations come from, and I learn the most that way. Otherwise, it would, you know, be kind of boring for everybody. Everywhere you go, there are changes, and I'm glad for that, because even in this day where everything is so homogenized on a national level, there are still, if you look, there are regional differences more than most people would even think. It's not just Midwest, Southeast, it's little bitty differences even between communities that are really close together. So yeah, there's a lot. When I come out to an event like this, it's really important to hear the questions that people are asking, what's on their mind, what they're thinking about, well, certainly in my world, food, what their attitudes are, what they're learning, what they're not learning, what they'd like to know more about. It's kind of like a big focus group, you know, being able to kind of gauge, how am I doing, but also what do you want? What are you thinking? And sometimes it's more what you learn from what they're not saying. You know, but it's also important to just know who your audience is. You know, you look around and say, oh wow, a lot of 7-year-olds today. You know, and in my case, Good Eats, which is my main show on Food Network, our kids' audience has grown leaps and bounds in the last 5 years, to where at any public event, half the kids might be like middle-aged and younger. So that changes how you perceive the work you do. You know, I'm not surprised about it, because to me it makes sense. You know, food is the giant switchboard that kind of connects us all. It connects us to history, to anthropology, to science most certainly, and above all to each other. So I mean, I'm certainly pleased by it, but I'm not really surprised by it. You know, it's something that just makes sense to me. And when people sometimes talk about, oh, it's a phenomenon, it'll burn out, I'm like, well, I don't think so, because people have always eaten, we always will eat, and we'll always be interested in how that works. I don't have anything new except that we're starting another season of Good Eats in about a week, in fact. We're going to be doing Feasting on Asphalt again, except it'll be 6 one-hour episodes this time, and we're going up the length of the Mississippi River. So from the very, very end of the Delta up into Minnesota. And that's going to take about a month to do that trip. And then we've got more Iron Chef coming after that. So it's really just kind of keeping up right now. You know what? It's not as much fun as it looks like. It's actually really stressful, because on a day-to-day basis, you don't really know what's going to happen. And for a producer, that's really stressful. But for me, it was about wanting to preserve something of the unique food heritage out in America, the mom and pop restaurants. We're losing that every day, you know, as big business kind of takes over the food landscape. So my whole thing was to go out and pretend there are no freeways, there is no fast food, and to find the stories, the connections with the local people. So it's an anthropology trip, but hopefully what it'll do is remind people that there is still a big America out there. There's a lot to discover. There are people to talk to. There are foods, you know, to taste. And if they'll just get off the freeway, it's all still out there. Gosh, my favorite meal of like all time? Still probably be my grandmother's breakfasts that she used to make when I was a kid with her biscuits, and she would get up like really early and make sawmill gravy. And if you're not from the South, you probably don't even know what that is. It's just like a milk gravy with sausage and stuff in it. And it would still probably be really simple things like that have family connection for me.
Well, I wanted to create an environment that I could create in someone else's backyard. Okay, I'm finding a lot of people are very interested in spending more time outside, not just to play, but also to entertain and to dine. And in doing that, I wanted to, taking that idea, I wanted to create an atmosphere where people are comfortable dining with the cover of the pergola and the surrounding walls to give them the environment of enclosure, the feeling of enclosure, I should say. And we added the water elements to distract from the other outside noises, and hopefully, you know, provide them with an environment to get them outside. Well, this is kind of a one-shot deal of getting, you know, showing people what we're capable, showcasing what we're capable of doing in one central location. I can send people to different areas of jobs we've done, but if I do a good representation of what Perino landscape is capable of doing at this show, I can get a lot more people, a lot more bang for my buck, if you will, as far as advertising goes. We start putting this together back in November. We start forcing the plant material. I have my men begin working on building the walls, and it all comes together in February. Well, I think probably the most important thing I want to know is how you're going to how you'd like to utilize this space. Okay, is it for entertaining? Is it for playing? And those are the things that I want to know from you. I want to make sure this space works well with the entire circulation of the indoors, so that it doesn't cut off the flow of traffic. And then I just find out some of your desires, what you like, what you don't like, but most importantly, how you're going to use the space. There is no such thing as no maintenance, but there's not as much effort that goes into maintaining a garden like this as people would think. Plus we sell a service where we maintain it ourselves, so we maintain it for you, I should say. You know, I think that the design is fairly simple. You know, it's an outdoor dining area, and that's what it is.